Welcome back mga insan sa Ins and Outs of Basketball by Jello.
And Intan,
What's up mga insan?
what's up?
It is another week of Ins and Outs. It's another spicy and meaty week sa NBA. A lot of mga news na nangyayari, good and bad news stuff. But the most important thing that happened in the past couple of days is the draft lottery, Intan.
Ooh,
And I think I mentioned it second episode, first episode na it's one of those things na that's why I wanted to do this pod is I'm not really familiarized o hindi ko masyadong alam yung draft. And I know you know more of the draft or you can talk about it more than me. And by doing this, I'm also learning and I'm hoping you guys are learning sa amin. And yeah, we're going to be talking about the lottery draft. Our
yes.
topic for today in time is
Bet on the now or invest in tomorrow.
well, there's are two main things that I want to talk about, which is of course kung ano nangyayari sa playoffs. There is a correlation kung in terms of our topic, and syempre sa draft. Do you bet on the now or do you invest on the tomorrow?
Mm-hmm.
So before we start ang ating show today,
Alam mo na, alam niyo na,
alam niyo na guys.
alam niyo nang parating.
Well, of course, please don't forget to like at subscribe,
Yes.
right? Comment, share nyo, ha? And sana lagi kayong manood every week sa aming Ins and Outs podcast. But, Intan, it's your time to shine.
Let's go mga insan, mga paring insan. Ito na naman tayo sa ating Insan's 24-second shot clock. Break down what happened between last week's pod and today. So without further ado, let's start this. So the Houston Rockets have now shifted their focus toward developing Jalen Green's potential after reported interest in acquiring Devin Booker. Michael Jordan is set to join NBC as special contributor alongside Jamal, Reggie Miller, and Carmelo Anthony. The Seattle Storm and Atlanta Dream will face off in a WNBA regular season game in Vancouver on August 15, 2025, and the draft order is finally set with the top four: Mavericks, Spurs, 76ers, and Hornets.
I think you went over. I
20.
think you went over there, but
more than but.
I just wanna emphasize on a few things kasi minsan nagto-24 tayo pero sobrang bilis. I
Yes.
think the main important thing here is actually it's not even the Houston Rocket news. It's not even about Michael Jordan. It's not even about the draft. I honestly want to focus on this game sa Vancouver.
Yes.
Right? I think for the past 2-3 years, I just want to mention na there has been a few like games here in terms of NBA, WNBA, and I think they're trying to see how everything is, how the fans are reacting. Is it really popular? Are people talking about it? Are people watching it?
Yes.
And I think that's one of the other reasons, tan, di ba? Like, pinag-usapan natin gusto natin gawin yung pod to bring up that hype that we want an NBA team here sa
Yes.
Vancouver. What do you think of this news na WNBA is gonna be here?
I think it's great because hindi lang to preseason. I believe it's an actual game. So I think tama yung sabi mo, Ois. I think tinitest ng NBA kung anong klaseng market meron na tayo dito sa Vancouver. At sa mga Vancouverites, alam naman natin na sobrang dami ng tao dito sa Vancouver. Sobrang dami ng Pilipino. So I'm sure na mas malaki na yung market ng like basketball kumpara nung sa Vancouver Grizzlies natin noon. So, sana maraming sumuporta sa game na to. Ipakita natin sa NBA na we're ready for a team again. We're ready to compete. So, hopefully, we get a new team again.
Yeah, and siguro the next couple of months we'll dig deep sa Vancouver Grizzlies. Right? We'll make it like parang this is what happened in Vancouver Grizzlies. It didn't work, pero it is time now to have another Vancouver team here.
Let's go. We're ready.
And yeah, before we get into the draft, of course, we wanna let ang mga nakikinig sa atin what na nangyayari sa playoffs. And hopefully by this time, medyo, na-update na kayo sa nangyayari sa playoffs. And I just want to start with the East. there are, of course, two series happening sa East. The first one that I want to talk about is how Cavaliers lost to the Pacers
Mm.
at 5. Dan, what do you think of that game very quickly? Or series, yes.
I think Cavaliers napakalaki ng I mean, sobrang laki ng expectations ng Cavaliers for this season. They're number one in the
64
East.
wins.
They were looking really good the whole season. Nakita mo na, oh, I think they're ready to be in the Eastern Conference Finals. But like we said sa previous episodes natin, the healthiest team usually advances to the later rounds. And we see that here also in Cavaliers. Also, I mean, although Pacers also played really well and see Donovan Mitchell na injured lang siya last game and they were like what 2-1 already and Pacers were winning already, so it's not because Donovan Mitchell got injured, but it is a big reason why they lost this series.
That's definitely one of the big reasons. But again, we don't want to discount yung ginawa ng Pacers. I
Yes.
think one person said ever since January, they were basically a 59 win team, which is close to how many wins that Cavs had, which is 64.
Mhm.
So they were that good
Yes.
starting January. Um, so they've been playing well. And one of the main reasons that you will see is yung depth nga nila, they're healthy.
Mm.
The most overrated player is in that team, Tyrese Halliburton, right? So there's definitely a lot of components. I think Tyrese is trying to prove those people na hindi siya overrated and
Yeah.
his team can win it all. And I just want to say again, I said it I think the past couple of episodes, they were in the East finals last
Mm.
year.
Yeah.
So again, this is not a team that is first time being here. They were in the Eastern Conference Finals last time against who are they up against?
Maybe Celtics.
Oh,
Yes.
Celtics. Yeah, because Celtics won the last year. And speaking of the Celtics, they are in a brink of elimination, Tan. They are 1-3 basically. Knicks is up 3 games. They only need to win one more. They are going back to Boston for this game 5. But the breaking news here is Jason Tatum is out for the rest of the season. And maybe even a huge chunk of the next season. I'm not entirely sure kung ano yung injury. Alam mo ba, Intan, yung...
Kilas at
He went through a surgery today, I believe.
Yeah, I think he went through surgery, so it's GG's for him.
It's definitely GG na. I think
Yeah.
Knicks, even if they lose that next game, I think they will get out of this
Yeah.
series. And it will be Knicks versus Pacers. And going into nga sa Eastern Conference Finals and the Western Conference Finals, me and Intan were talking na maybe we should do a little bit more impromptu, not as much planning. We're just gonna turn on our recording and then we're
Yes.
just gonna be talking about, because I think what we realized, there is a lot of things happening. Pretty much every day or
Yeah.
every game, there is a new thing, and we always want to talk about it rather than just oh, 30 minutes lang tayo mag-uusap, kailangan natin sabihin. So I think we're gonna really look into that pag nagsimula ng East and West.
Yes.
What do you
So
think, Intan?
please abangan nyo po
Oh,
mga
yes.
ka-insans dyan. Please subscribe so hindi nyo ma-miss yung notifications. Subscribe and then turn on the bell, parang gano'n.
Turn on the bell.
So,
Yes,
hindi nyo
sir.
ma-miss araw-araw, every game may be on the conference finals and then NBA finals. We'll see how it
We'll
goes, but
see.
turn on the bell. Let's go.
It's definitely an exciting series going into the, I think, conference finals.
Yeah.
And one of the series right now is, I think, it's gonna go back and forth to, let's go to the West.
Yes.
OKC versus Denver. 2-2 na sila, Tan.
Hmm.
Anong nangyayari sa OKC and Denver?
So, yung OKC and Denver, sa regular season, 2-2 din sila. So, they're even. They're really even. It's like every game, they're like going back and forth. You don't really know who's gonna win. It's like the same thing with Clippers, and like the last game, game 4, I think even Jokic was saying he was having a bad game last game, right? And he was saying like he was the fatigue is getting into him. So this game is really, really nasty. And the next team that they're gonna go up against in the conference finals might be lucky because they went to maybe game sevens already. So
Yep.
we'll
Exactly. I
see,
think
we'll see.
OKC, although hindi sila nag game 7 last series, I think the most important part here is both MVPs, both MVP runners with um Shea and Jokic, they're not really playing well
Mm-hmm.
up to the standard that they had sa regular season. So that's something to watch for. Is it the fatigue? Is it the like yung defensive scheme ng mga coaches? It
Mm-hmm.
might be both, right? So it's definitely affecting something, and this is where it's important that the next man up really shows up,
Yeah.
right? And I just want to pivot sa next series that we want to talk about, which is Timberwolves and ang Golden State Warriors, which is I'm wearing it. I'm wearing it to ano, pwede
For
bang ibigay ko
positive
yung
vibes.
hamstring ko kay Curry? This is you know, we I thought that Jimmy Butler is gonna show up and be that next guy. He's gonna be the Batman kind of thing. Um, but one of the things that they are 1-3 and they're losing right now to the Timberwolves is they didn't have enough depth, I would say, compared sa Timberwolves, who has enough depth to go up against the Warriors, right? So, what do you think, Intan, sa nangyayari sa Timberwolves and sa Warriors?
Oh man. I think I said it last episode na sabi ko
Oh,
pero
wait, Tan, I think we're finally getting our first hiccup here in
yeah.
a while. That's
Yeah, I
crazy.
know.
That's okay.
I was about to say.
Well, sa recording usually tumutuloy sa akin,
Okay, okay, okay.
but
Okay, but yeah, I think I said it last episode na sabi ko Warriors are gonna need Stephen Curry. And like I said before, yung gravity offense niya, that's a big part of the Warriors. That's a
definitely.
big part of their game team. And so, makikita mo like sa mga games nila, hirap yung mga role players nila kasi Stephen Curry makes it easy for them,
Mm-hmm.
makes wide open shots for them. So that is a big need, big hole nawala nung nawala si Steph. So they're really in the danger zone. Home game ba ng Warriors next game or
Nope. They are going
damn.
back to Minnesota.
And I think Steph is like planned to play on
Game six.
game
Game
six,
six.
and next
Yeah.
game is 5. So
Yeah, I think the next game is tomorrow. And this is where it's usually like may game sila, let's say today, and then may rest tomorrow, and then another game.
mm,
After actually tomorrow's game, they have an extended game kasi I think the WNBA season is gonna start or something like that. So there
mm,
is a conflict sa scheduling. So they actually get
mm.
extra rest, both Timberwolves and the Warriors, which is a good thing for the Warriors for Stephen Curry. But again, this is where do you bet on now
Ooh.
or you invest on tomorrow? That's one of the things too. Kasi do you try to play Stephen Curry as 80% or 50% with this
Mm.
injury with a risk na baka ma-aggravate yung injury niya and it might result into a ending on his career, right?
Yeah, what do you think about that, guys? Invest now or
I wanna bring it out sa mga nakikinig sa atin. I
yes,
think both of us we know I don't think it's a really good idea
yes.
to do that,
Especially down 3-1, it's
especially down 3-1. I don't think if it's like a game 7 kind of vibe, like
mm,
it's the last game, or maybe if it's the finals, but they're in the second round,
yeah.
right? And this is where I'm also gonna bring it back to this topic later about the draft. And You'll see why later. But I think we're gonna end on this topic about playoffs and let's focus on this draft. I think this is one of the things that I was excited to go kasi the number one pick, right? So let's start this segment then about the draft. Let you start this segment. So tell us
So,
about it.
this draft lottery nangyari nga kahapon, no? One of the craziest lotteries ever. Because yung mga teams, no, like 14 of the weakest teams sa NBA,
Mhm.
merong lottery nangyayari. So basically parang loto lang. So kung tumama ka, nanalo ka ganyan. But yung sequence is being like ano, parang lottery nga. And yung Mavericks, which was fighting to get in the playoffs, had a 1.8% chance na makuha yung top 1
Mhm.
overall pick. And they got it. The team na nag-trade kay Luka Doncic, they just got a blessing from the NBA gods. Just
It,
like that.
it's crazy because they had one of the craziest trades nga in I
Wow.
would say in the last decade or
And
so.
the craziest thing, I was listening to Kenny. So, sa mga NBA fans dyan, alam kong kilala nyo yun. The Dallas and Chicago,
Yep, I was gonna say that too.
they have the same record of the regular season. And basically, you have to flip a coin to
Figure who has the better odds.
yeah, to figure out the odds. And the Dallas won the coin flip. So they got a point 0.1 odd better than the Chicago Bulls.
So basically, Dallas got the 1.8%, and then Chicago Bulls got 1.7%. And just to let you know, I think the last time the Chicago Bulls got the number one pick was Derrick Rose,
Yes.
right? The youngest MVP in the history of the NBA. And again, this is how important this number one pick is, right? Number one picks, I can name off LeBron James, Victor Wembanyama, Derrick Rose, Anthony Davis, right? These are just a handful of like players that basically change yung trajectory ng franchise mo. And Cooper Flagg was one of those players. And everyone, you can see like yung reaction ng parang back office
Maverick.
or ng Mavericks decision makers, Nico Harrison, all of
Yeah.
those people, they were so happy. They were
They were
jumping.
praying. They were
They
praying to
basically
get
it's
that number one pick.
it's like they won a championship,
Yeah.
right? And again, 1.8%. The what is the highest odds anyways? 14%, right?
14%.
14%. And Intan, like talk about this percent thing. Like how did it all came to be? And then we'll talk about like kung ano yung parang resulta of the 1 to 14 of the NBA draft lottery. So
Yeah.
give us the history.
So right now nga no, yung top or yung three weakest teams sa NBA, meron silang 14% chance each na makakuha ng first overall pick. So that's pretty big because there's 14 teams nga
Mhm.
na nasa lottery na naglalaban-laban for number one. And then etong odds na to na yung three weakest teams ay may pare-parehas na odds. Recently lang to nangyari. Basically 2019. Kasi noong mga before 2019 na uso yung tanking. So sa mga amin na NBA fans dyan, alam nyo na yung ibig sabihin ng tanking, meaning um,
Nagpapatalo ka.
nagpapatalo talaga kayo para mas maganda yung odds nyo na manalo sa lottery na makakuha ng number one overall pick na makakuha ng mga magaling na players sa college. So usong-uso yon noon na nangyari yung term na trust the process, which is the term na parang slogan ng Philadelphia 76ers dahil yung noong mga panahon na yon, it's like yung mga top picks nila, injury or like hindi nilalaro yung iba. Kaya sobrang pangit ng standings talaga nila and sobrang taas ng draft picks nila. So basically 2014 number 3 sila, Joel Embiid. 2015 number 3 ulit sila, Okafor. Number 2016 number 1 sila, Ben Simmons. Number 2 2017 number 1 ulit sila, Markel Fultz. So before yung mga ads kasi, kung ikaw yung pinakabulok na team sa NBA, 25% chance na makuha ka ng first pick, and then yung next one is 19.9 and 15.6. So mas malaki, sobrang laki ng odds mo. So if you're the weakest team, there's a very big chance na makuha mo yung number one pick. So yun yung ginawa ng Philadelphia Sixers. Pero nga noong 2019, binago ng NBA. Kasi nga sobrang tanking ang nangyayari, pangit sa viewership, sa mga ganyan. So pangit sa competitiveness. So this starting 2019, the three worst teams have 14% chance. So more unpredictability, more competitiveness, and yung addition ng playing games. So they're trying to improve yung competitiveness and unpredictability sa draft, na nangyari na nga dito sa draft natin ngayon, kasi yung basically the 11th best odds with 1.8% Dallas Mavericks won the number one overall pick.
So again, like Dallas Mavericks, nag-jump up sila from being the 11th, potentially number 11 pick, naging number 1 sila. And again, yun nga, like the whole changes of it, it's basically, kasi anong nangyayari minsan, pinag-usapan namin to dati ni Intan, like, you know, minsan nag-uusap kami about NBA, like how boring the games are. And the quality of games have improved with the play-in nga, about the changes to the draft, about the tanking, all of this aspect, nag-improve yung mga games. Kasi, let's just say Toronto Raptors, they've been trying to tank for the past 2-3 years, pero they're still trying to win games. Right? Chicago Bulls, they had seasons na nagtatank sila. But if they lost against the Lakers, where I think Josh Giddey had that half-court shot,
Yeah.
right? If they lost that, they would have gotten a better chance. And in theory, they could have gotten that number 1 pick. All of these things mattered, and all of these games mattered in terms of like all this draft and all that kind of stuff. So, ang nangyari ngayon is number 1 pick is Dallas Mavericks. That's the biggest news. Is Dallas Mavericks got that number 1 pick. And bring it done yung number 1, 2, 3. Tell us kung ano yung resulta ng 2025.
So number one nga Dallas, number 2 is San Antonio Spurs, na nag-jump up then from number 8 with the 6% chance to be number 1. And then Philadelphia Sixers nag-jump up then from number 5. Number 4, Charlotte Hornets jumped down from number 3. And then, yeah, Utah, Washington, New Orleans, Brooklyn, Toronto, Houston, Portland, Chicago, Atlanta, and San Antonio. And to emphasize the randomness nga, one of the 3 worst teams in the NBA jumped down to number 5. So not just because you were the weakest team of the NBA doesn't like hindi sigurado na first pick ka. So there's no incentive to be the weakest team in the NBA anymore with this result nga.
Yep. And again, I want to emphasize on the first 3 picks. So again, Dallas Mavericks, they traded Luka Doncic. Now they got the blessing from the gods to get Cooper Flagg. I don't think they're gonna trade this pick. I know there has been a lot of talks na baka i-trade ng Dallas Mavericks tong number 1 pick. And I've been hearing in the past couple of hours, yung mga nakikita ko sa mga stats, na they are not gonna trade this pick. They're gonna keep Cooper Flagg. The second pick with San Antonio Spurs also is very, very important because they are potentially one of the teams na makakakuha kay Giannis Antetokounmpo, right? So that's one of the things that we're going to talk about. And then the third team is the Philadelphia 76ers, so the top 3. Philadelphia, if they jump down to 5 or lower, they were actually going to lose their pick. I don't know if you know that, Tan. Alam mo ba yun na if Philadelphia 76ers, if they were 5, 6, 7, 8, or whatever, they were not gonna basically own that pick. So if they got the number 1, 2, and 3, they would have kept it.
Yeah, I didn't know that, but sa mga hindi nakakaalam, ito yung mga tinatawag na protection. So, when you trade a pick, kunyari is a top 3 protection, which is the same the Philadelphia pick. Ah, pagka lumabas siya sa 3, number 4 to 14, mapupunta na doon sa team na pinag-trade.
And again, I just want to emphasize na yung mga picks pwede nyong i-trade. Yung mga
Mm,
picks nyo from this year, next year, to the future, this is one of those things na importante rin in terms of like trading players. Yung mga picks ay important sa mga franchises. There are a lot of franchises, there are a handful of franchises na walang masyadong picks. So it's
mm.
really important for them to get as much pick as possible and kind of like invest in the future. And which is the topic of today. Yung mga prospecta, let's talk about like the main, let's say, 5 players here that we want to talk about. Of course, Cooper Flagg. Tell us about Cooper Flagg very briefly.
Cooper Flagg, we all know, we saw him very tall forward, 6'9", 205 pounds, and very young, 18 and a half years old. Ridiculous, insane upside. And then defense is his main thing, and then he can have a playmaking potential and a versatility is one of his best traits.
And I think a lot of people, whenever you see Cooper Flagg, they all also mention those things. I think one of the things na a lot of the GMs, general managers from different teams are also talking about is yung work ethic ni Cooper
Mm,
Flagg and the passion to
mm,
actually want to be one of the greatest players, to basically make sure na siya yung parang superstar of the team, siya yung nagke-carry ng load. So that's one of the things that is, I would say, kind of like the Mamba mentality, Tan,
mm.
na sinasabi nila na with Kobe Bryant, like, hey, this is my team. I'm gonna be the best player. I'm gonna put on the work and I'm gonna show it on the court that this is all the work I've been doing. And I think that's the other reason na fell in love ang mga GMs kay Cooper Flagg. It's not just about him being able to do it on both ends of the floor. It's that work ethic, right? And
And to
then
prove it also yung work ethic at saka competitiveness niya, Duke, yung team niya, they were in the last 4 teams NCAA college
college, yeah,
championships, so they were really competitive.
really, really competitive. Uh, Dylan Harper, tell us about this Rutgers freshman, Tan.
I don't. So I should maybe start by saying I don't really know much about these prospects yet. Maybe after the finals, we'll do more
In depth, yeah.
research. Yeah, research about these guys. But from what I know, he's a big guard. He's a 6'6", 215 pounds. He's 19 years old, and he's a lead guard. Na magaling umatake at will and very mature offensive game. So he has a big upside as well. Good ball handling, and then also a crafty finisher.
Yeah, so I would say in terms of Dylan Harper, he's more on the offensive side. So
Mm,
if I think, and again, like what tends to happen sa NBA is guards are usually hard to come by, as what I've
mm,
noticed in terms of
mm,
this drafts. Picking the right guards is very important, and you need to find someone who really knows how to do it well in the offensive side. Because the defensive side, you can kind of cover, is what you
mm,
would notice. And I think that's why they also love Dylan Harper kasi nga sobrang offensive side niya. I'm not sure the stats, but I do know that's one of the things that he does. The other player too is from the same school is Ace Bailey,
mm.
which is potentially going into the Sixers nga. Um, is another wing Tan. So
Yeah.
why would he fall to the number 3? Why couldn't he be the number 1 pick here?
Because Cooper Flag is here.
Exactly. And I think with in terms of Ace Bailey, he is also wing. He's a little bit bigger than Cooper Flag, 6'10" siya.
Mm,
He is a little bit older in terms of like he's basically 18 point, like magna 19 na siya in a way.
mm,
That's one of the biggest thing. I think the other thing too is he doesn't really show in terms of offense side. He's
mm,
more on the defense side, which is again you can kind of like coach them to be on the offense, but it's really hard to uh, show that growth right away when you
Mm.
get to that first year, second year. Defense does play a big role. Pero again, that's why this is all the top three. They all like have different assets that they can do.
Mm.
So in terms of all these prospects, so again, there's a lot of prospects here. We're probably gonna dig deep to a different episode. One of the biggest news too, which is crazy that this happened the day before the lottery, is the news
Yes.
about Giannis is open-minded to be into a different team. Got that.
Mm.
You had all 30 GMs and decision makers in Chicago from like yesterday, probably today too, and this news break out. It's quite crazy that they broke out this news during the time of the lottery. And there's a big impact, right, Tan? What's the main thing?
So yung rumor nga na sinasabi is Giannis is intrigued na maglaro sa team na walang income tax sa state na walang income tax, and yung mga main teams na nandun ay yung Rockets, na walang income tax is Rockets, Heat, Magic, Spurs, Mavericks, and Grizzlies. And the biggest team right now is the team that won the number one pick. Do you bet on the now with Giannis, or maybe invest in tomorrow with Cooper?
That's the interesting part, because as a GM, you trade your superstar Luka Doncic, and then in the span of 4 months, you also trade a potential 10 to 15 years that your franchise could be good with Cooper Flagg, or you try to win it in the next couple, or maybe two. You can get a 2-3 year window of championship with Anthony Davis, Kyrie Irving, Giannis, and potentially Clay, and all of this Derek Lively's of the world, Neji Marshall, potentially get 2-3 rings with Giannis Antetokounmpo. And that's the biggest thing. I think for me, they shouldn't. That's the first of all, the backlash is gonna be crazy with Nico. He is gonna be on, like, I don't know, probably the top one that needs to be
Most
killed, kind
hated.
of like the most hated, like Dallas, whatever, right? It can't happen, right? It can't happen, and that's why I said kanina na there is some news na that they're gonna keep Cooper Flagg, and people were saying that Cooper Flagg should try to find the bahay na sa Dallas because he's gonna stay there,
Yeah.
right?
I
The
think so too. I think so too,
I
yeah.
think so too. And the other team that's very intriguing here is yung the Houston Rockets. I would say they have a lot of the assets. So one of the things that Bucks, they I think they also opened up this rumor, is wala silang draft picks.
Mm.
In the next, I think, 5-6 years, wala silang draft picks. Their other superstar on Dame Lillard is injury prone or injured. They have no basically future right now, and they need to get some future. So if you're gonna try to create a trade, it would be Houston. You can get some young assets, maybe some picks, because Houston has some of their picks, as we mentioned. So that could be something that could be good. And Giannis could also go to that team because they also have the championship caliber team that team can bring in. What do you think, Dan?
Yeah, I think Rockets is very intriguing also, pero I think pero first, please leave a comment mga quiz, mga insans, kung ano sa tingin niyo ang mangyayari dito kay Giannis. But
Very, very important,
to
yeah.
me, I believe he is still a loyal guy, and he might stay just because injured si Tatum. So there's one kind of less team in the East to fight, to compete with against. So why not run it back just one more season? Just one more season. Just let's see what the Celtics are gonna look like next season. And then if it still doesn't work, then maybe I'll go. But I think Giannis might be intrigued of how the East is gonna look, how the East is gonna shape up next season.
So as we mentioned last few episodes, Giannis still has 2 years left and a player option, I believe. So he still has a few years. So if he's gonna get traded to a different team, he still has that 2 years to kind of give them a championship, and he can leave that team. But at the same time, West is so stacked. So if you're gonna try to go to West, You're
Yeah.
not even, yes, you are technically the top three player right now with Jokic, SGA, and him being the third. But if you go to the West, you're up against a juggernaut of a team. And if you stay in the East, you're basically up against, and not even Cavs at this point. I don't even know if I can give that hope that they are going to compete. It's only the Celtics, right? And
Yeah.
again, this is the other thing too. I just want to mention because Celtics is about to lose their series. Is they might break out that team. I said to Intan, they might break that team, the Celtics team, if they lose the second round.
Yeah, because Horford might be retiring.
Mm-hmm.
Porzingis, I think 1 year contract.
Drew Holidays is also
Holiday.
expiring. So all of these things, and I mentioned it, this playoffs is one of those greatest playoffs because going into this next season, it's basically it feels like a new era of basketball is what I feel with all these changes. It opened the door when Luka got traded that any superstar can just get traded at this point.
Nobody's safe anymore.
Nobody's safe, and Cooper Flagg might not even be safe.
Ooh.
And that's the crazy part. No, that's the crazy part. No one would think that they would trade a number one. No one would have this discussion. Not,
Yeah.
hey, trade your number one pick, get a Giannis to be in your team. But since they opened this door that Luka can just get traded, a franchise player
A top 5 player in the NBA.
right now, you open that door. This is what's happening. It's a new era. And again, there's a lot more things with the second apron. Tan, alam mo ba yung mga nasabi nila?
Yeah, I've seen that, but I
All
didn't.
of these talks is very important now. And again, we're gonna dig deep into, I guess, the financial side of it, the budgeting, and how these teams go. But what does all of these teams need to do? Do they bet on the now, or do they bet on the future? That's it,
Let
mga
us know.
insan.
Yes,
That's
sir.
it.
Let us
Woo!
know, mga insans. Don't forget, like, comment, subscribe, turn the bell notifications on. And insans out!
Out!